Hi, everybody. This is Justine.
Hi, it's Alicia. Welcome to Woo Manufacturing. We have a special guest today, which I'm really excited to announce. It's actually my cousin and a fellow chemical engineer.
Whoop, whoop.
I would like to welcome Bailey to our podcast. Bailey, how are you doing?
Good. Good to be here. Obviously, this is my first time doing anything of this sort, but no, happy to chat with you guys today.
Yeah, it's like the 8th time of our existence doing anything either. So we're all on the same level of, of familiarity.
And I'm sorry to our audience, we are not professionals. So thank you for sticking with us through our very not professional podcast.
I mean, at least 2 of the 3 of us have a different job to go back to. Maybe I should try and really work on the podcast thing, and that could be my new avenue.
You are just living your summer. You're enjoying your life.
I am. I'm thriving, enjoying the Oregon summers. But it's going to be September in like 2 days, so I'll get my act together eventually.
You're going to do fine. So yeah, I wanted to start out, Bailey, and just allow you to kind of give us a bit of a history of kind of how you started your career, because I know you have some pretty interesting stories to tell. You got to go to France. So yeah, if you want to just walk us through kind of like where you're at now and how you got there, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, sure. Don't know how far back to go. Well, I guess I'm originally from Washington State, but I actually went to college in Montana. So I went to Montana State University and majored in chemical engineering. And yeah, during school, I did a couple of internships, nothing crazy, but yeah. And so actually, I graduated in like 2020, which was right when COVID started. So obviously, it was very difficult to find a job. So I actually moved back home for a year, living with my parents, and I was just working at a motorcycle store, actually. And just applying for jobs like crazy. And then, yeah, my lovely cousin Alicia actually sent me this job posting for this thing in France. It was a sponsored master's program. And, when I got that, I was like, oh, yeah, like that sounds cool, but there's no way like this would ever happen to me. Well, it turns out it did happen to me. So I got chosen for that and went to France, lived there for almost 3 years, did my program. And actually, so it's sponsored by a dairy company. So I specialized in yogurt manufacturing. And so after I finished my program, came back, and now we're back in the United States, and I'm working at a factory here.
Okay, that's so. I mean, it's like so rapid fire. I want to like pick apart a couple of things. So like the only thing, so you said you're like, oh, I did some internships and wasn't that big of a deal. Like, how did you even get internships when you were still an undergraduate?
Well, it was difficult. Honestly, it was researching a lot and researching early. And also, I was lucky enough to have, obviously, my cousin Alicia, who has already been in the industry. So she did know of like companies that would hire interns and things, and that sort of thing. I think that's kind of the hardest part, is not even knowing what sort of companies exist that would even have interns. I remember, I don't even know when, but at some point I had found some list of companies online also that just do internships or leadership programs, that sort of thing. I have no idea where I found it, but things like that. It's just hard to find places in general.
Yeah, so a lot of dedicated research and actually like using the people that you know who can help. So
yeah, and also start early. Even like I feel like these days people are even, well, not people, but companies are even starting to look for interns like the winter prior to the summer. But also I know there's always like co-ops and things, which are just longer kind of 6-month internship opportunities. But however, those would cross over like during a school semester. which is just something to keep in mind. But those are also, I'm sure, really great opportunities because you get longer time and can actually have more time to do meaningful projects and stuff at your company. So yeah.
Yeah, Justine and I have talked about we want to do some more episodes about internships because we know how important it is. But even when I was hiring interns, my company started way too late, and by January, all the good kids were snagged up because people start so early. So yeah, I mean, it's great advice to just let people know you need to really be thinking about it throughout the whole school year, I think.
Yeah, and advocating for yourself, because I think that this might have just been my experience, but a lot of college was okay, I have this coming up this next week and I have these things on my next docket. And so like you're living week by week, and companies go so much more slowly, and they're not gonna, you're like, okay, I have 2 weeks before summer break, like I'm gonna go talk to somebody. It's like, doesn't work that way. They have to really sit there and get approvals and noodle on you and meet you and what have you. So it just takes a lot longer. I also, like, selfishly have a question. Like, did you like Montana as a state? I think it's gorgeous, but was it actually good to live in?
Yes, honestly, I loved it.
Oh, cool.
So I was in Bozeman, and Bozeman is very much a college town. So it's not really like the wild, wild west, I would say.
Right.
But no, Bozeman is really awesome, and there's a lot of things to do there. Even if you're not necessarily an outdoor person, I know they kind of sell it as for like outdoor people, you know, if you love to ski, go hiking and stuff. But there's also just a lot of other things to do too. They have a lot of good breweries too as well. So
Awesome. Well, fun.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about what it was like working in France. Did you know how to speak French? What was that whole experience like? Plus, you were earning a master's, so I would imagine all that was pretty chaotic.
Yes, it was. And honestly, I had never been to Europe before any of this. So, like, going to France in the middle of COVID, by myself, I didn't know anyone. I didn't know how to speak the language at all. But the good thing about my program is the first 6 months that you're there is just French classes, which is really helpful, but also very difficult. And especially as like, I don't know, a high performer, being in that environment where everything is just, you're working so hard at something, but you're just not getting it all the way. Something with like learning a new language. It's tough character building, but yeah, so there was that whole like learning the language part. At that time we were each living with like host families, so you were able to practice and eat dinner with them and have a sort of more exposure to the culture. And so then after that kind of immersion period is when the real school started. And so how this works, I guess French universities are kind of different from our universities. Their structure is like the first year of your master's, you are kind of in alternating school and work. So you're at school for like 2 or 3 weeks, you do a block of classes. Then when that's done, you spend 2 or 3 weeks at your company doing your internship, and you kind of go back and forth for a whole year. And then the second year of your master's, you do like the first 6 months is just at school, and it's kind of your focus on a certain area. And then the rest of your 2-year period is about 6 to 8 months in a second factory where you do your thesis, and then you defend your thesis, and that's that. So yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's like crazy dynamic. I don't have a lot of familiarity with European programs, or if this is just like a very special program, but it's so cool that they had you engaged in that way. And like you don't have time to get bored with the subject because you're on to the next thing. It's like sounds very yeah, it sounds like 3 years could actually fly by pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And yeah, the interesting thing is when they do block the classes together, it's like back to back every day, you're multiple hours on the same subject. And it's different for sure than, American universities where maybe you have a couple classes of the same subject per week, just for like an hour, maybe an hour and a half. But over there, it's completely different. So which one is better or worse, I can't say, but different
Well,
for sure.
I just like the exposure to industry. And
Yeah.
one of my passions is figuring out how to get more women in engineering, but like controls engineers in general, because it's not really like a set degree, but it's how do we partner with universities to actually show students what the industry is actually like, because everything's so
Mhm.
theoretical. And
Mhm.
so I don't know how to bridge that gap, but being able to give that exposure where it's not just the onus of the student to go find an internship and do that themselves in addition to taking their classes, but like have it immersive. I love
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a good point because a lot of what we do in school doesn't really translate into how does this become useful unless you're lucky enough to have a professor who's worked in industry as well, or they frame certain questions in a way that looks like an actual application of that subject. Um, and yeah, I guess one question I would have is when you were doing chemi, well, one question is like, why? But then another question is, did you have any expectations on where you would end up working? Did you ever picture um, getting into the food and bev industry?
Yeah, honestly, well, first, so for the first part of that, like why chemi? Honestly, I don't really have a specific reason other than I found out that chemical engineering majors is like one of the hardest things you can do. So,
Mhm.
of course, I had to choose it to just kind of prove to myself that I could. Um, so, I mean, I would say kind of that, but the other thing that really drew me to it is kind of the way that things kind of solving problems is kind of like solving a puzzle. And I don't know, I really like puzzles, so and math and science, obviously. And so this just seemed like the perfect blend of all of them. So
That's
yeah.
really cool that you knew yourself enough to know that you're like, I want a challenge.
Yeah.
And if I can challenge myself in undergrad, then I know that I can have an engaging career later.
Hmm.
And yeah, and just acknowledging that it teaches you problem solving is like a really healthy way of approaching. I've heard a lot of answers on
Hmm.
chemi. I've even had people be like, well, I need to get a job, which is also an acceptable answer, but like
Right.
less welcome. Um, so
Yeah.
that's cool. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
But then as far as like knowing what industry I wanted to go into afterwards, yeah, no, I had no idea.
Mhm.
I just kind of knew I wasn't really super interested in kind of the oil and gas industry, but everything else was kind of fair game, which I don't know if that made it better or worse for trying to find jobs afterwards because I wasn't, putting myself in a box as far as where I wanted to go, but I also was not narrowed down at all, so I didn't even really know where to start. Um,
Mhm.
yeah.
So, what are you doing now? Now that you're in the States, what are you working on?
Yes. So right now, I'm actually my title is continuous improvement engineer. But really, what I focus on at my factory is I manage the plant mass balance. And so you might be like, what the heck is that? Um, Honestly, you can kind of think of it as like kind of a checking account. So, really, in the dairy industry, the main things that we focus on in our milk is the fat and protein. That's like the gold of milk. That's where the money comes from. And so, valuing, tracking your fat and protein throughout your factory and where you're losing it is super, super valuable because it can help you continuously improve and solve problems and save on raw material and all of that stuff. So, How do I explain it? If we go back to the checking account thing, you start with your initial like balance at the beginning of the month, week, whatever period you're doing this over. And so for us, that it means like taking inventory of every single tank in the facility. We have a really pretty large factory, so that can get it can become a lot of information really fast. But yeah, so we have, I don't even know how many tanks in our factory, but we take inventory of those. And then we also have to consider the inputs into the mass balance, which for us is all of our incoming raw milk. And so with our incoming raw milk, we have to kind of quantify how much fat and protein is in that. And so we have this device that can measure the fat and protein. And we do that all throughout the yogurt making process, taking the fat and protein to kind of be a step by step, making sure we're meeting quality standards and all of that sort of thing. So that's the first part of the mass balance is everything you put into it. And then you have to also consider what you're taking out of it. So for us, that would be another ending inventory to see where we're at the end of the time period. And then also how much yogurt did we make? Like how many cups of finished product did we produce? And so with all of that information, you can then determine, okay, the difference between those is how much we lost. And I mean, saying it like that, it sounds really simple, but when you have a big factory and I don't even know how many different recipes of yogurt we have, it can get very complicated very quickly, especially when you consider how many of these data points are coming from like humans typing things into computers or HMIs or all of the places things are measured. Are they being measured correctly? Or is something wrong? You know, any little tiny thing can throw the result off. And then it's like a wild goose chase trying to track where the problem is. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit about that.
You're sparking my interest because now I'm like, where are all the touch points? Where can we automate?
Yeah,
No,
seriously.
I am kind of curious. I know that obviously like people entering in results is going to be a spot where somebody's manually interfacing with it. But is everything pretty automated? Are you getting your tank levels from HMIs or SCADA systems or?
Yeah. All of the tank levels and totalizers, which is pretty much data that we get of whatever your flow rate through a flow meter is over X amount of time, or if you're in a certain function step, like you can totalize how much product has been sent through that meter. So yeah, we use a lot of automated things like that to get the majority of the data. But then, for example, like entering our initial raw milk fat and protein percent, all of that data entry is human for the moment.
Yeah. No, I
Is
mean it does like from somebody outside the industry, they would think, oh, well, that's easy. I can balance my checking account. But I mean, Justine and I spent a lot of our time at our previous company doing mass balance as well. And it was
Mhm.
different in that instead of fat and protein, it was what metals are in this stuff that we're
Yeah.
recycling. And you can lose massive amounts of quantity if something goes wrong in that whole process, and then it's
Mhm.
like a wild goose chase. Do you spend a lot of time treasure hunting, essentially trying to find where the yogurt
Yes,
went?
sometimes for sure. And it becomes a question of, okay, where is this error coming from? Is it coming from a typo, a simple typo that someone did? Or is it our measuring device is out of calibration? Or is there this random flow meter that is just completely off? There's multiple different things that can happen. And so it's always interesting trying to find what the issue is.
Yeah, that is, yeah, when you first were saying, like, I do like a mass balance of this entire plant, I was thinking about it and it said that
Mhm.
sounds like a nightmare
Yeah.
because you don't know if someone, wait, so is yogurt a batch process, meaning for any listener, like you do one vat of material all the way through and then you clean out that vat and then you start over, or is it a continuous process?
No, so it's definitely a batch
Okay.
process. So we have that, but times about 4 or 5 happening all at the same time.
Right. And then I picture like, especially because it's food grade and then there's like cleaning
Mhm.
procedures and whatever,
Oh,
like
yeah.
that you can have losses every time you like empty a container.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then you're like, oh, is this one subset of equipment? Is it just like older and it's hard to clean certain
Mhm.
aspects of it? So you like it's messed up to get under the blades or the mixers for this. And then you
Mhm.
have all these losses in just this one configuration. Like
Mhm.
I could picture how, yeah, top level, you're like, yeah, you just follow the mass. Mass can't be created or destroyed. Find it. But then it's like everywhere.
Right, exactly. And
Yeah.
especially when you look at milk, any dairy processing, milk is either you use it or lose it because the rules on milk are insane for good reason. Obviously, it's a fresh product, like it needs to be in quality standards at all times
Hmm.
for food safety of all of our customers and ourselves. Um, and so there's so much material movement in the factory at all times. Like
Hmm.
milk isn't allowed to sit in one tank for more than like 2 or 3 days, which it never usually does because we're moving so fast and, and producing so much. But it's definitely a fast-paced environment.
This is a complete aside, but have you guys heard any history of milk in the US like prior to having food and and uh, before the FDA existed or before there was any rules around like food regulation? Uh it's kind of like just a gross history because milk is like meant for so much that it's so easy to grow bacteria in it and stuff. So before
Mhm.
like pasteurizing was required, and some people get their hackles up about that, but it should
Some
be
people still
required.
some people still like to drink unpasteurized milk. That's like
Mhm.
a whole thing.
Yeah, but, like, on an industrial scale, like, that's just not fucking possible. Like,
Mhm.
you can't do industrial scale raw milk because it's gross. Because any
Mhm.
speck of anything that gets into it, any step of the way will grow because it's, like, it's the spice of life. Milk, like, grows stuff. That's just, like, what it's meant to do.
Mhm.
So, like, the unhinged idea that you can do this without pasteurization is just nuts to me. It's like, fine, own your cow, make sure its udders are clean before you like drink the milk from the teat and like get on with your life. But if you didn't see that milk go into the bottle, I am not drinking it unless it's pasteurized. Like, no.
It comes out of a cow's titty. Oh my god.
The titty
I need
is
it. I need
fine.
a glass of
It's the
milk.
titties that are covered in shit that is a problem. Like, that's the problem, bro. But to
Get
be
your
fair,
titties
like
out of the
with
shit.
get your titties out of the dirt. Anyhow, but
That's why there's so many rules on
yeah,
milk, like
so many rules, so
yes.
many rules. Because even after the milk is clean, like, it's all mixed together and pasteurized, like, it
Mhm.
gets gross again, like, one guy puts his thumb in a vat and it's, like, ruined,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So, anywho, it's all very interesting. I always, like, I've never worked, in a space where the end product would be directly consumed by people, and I think it's just a certain level of standards that is just like really hard to adhere to. It's like, oh, here's a layer of rules and then we're going to tap on like additional rules on top of that that like do make sense, but they're always going to be like super stringent. So yeah, it does add like a bit of pressure to it because you're like, well, we got to act now because otherwise we're going to lose X amount of money in this raw material,
Mhm,
or something else.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever get, I mean, it sounds like in your production sphere that you're kind of just like making sure that things are going smoothly and that they're not losing money along the way. But working in production, do you ever feel, um, like too much urgency? Is there a lot of pressure or are you pretty well managed on that side of things?
I would say there is a surprising amount of pressure.
Mhm, mhm,
And sometimes you definitely have to take a step back and you're like, "Okay, what are we really doing here? We're making
mhm.
yogurt. Yes, that's great, but also it's not the end of the world. Like, things aren't going to blow up. Like, it's just yogurt.
Mm.
But no, it's definitely
It's more than
yeah.
that. Making yogurt saving lives. I mean, it's so funny how they make such a big deal about it,
Yes.
and you're feeling that pressure. It's 24/7. But I mean,
Mhm.
at the end of the day, they're losing a shit ton of money if they can't
Right.
process that milk because the line's down. But yeah, it
Yeah.
is just
Right.
yogurt at the end of the
Right.
day.
But again,
No, yeah.
that is the worst case scenario. Like, okay, worst case, you lose some milk. Yes, that's going to be expensive, but it's not like the power grid is going to go down, or, people can still live their lives.
I do find it so interesting how one thing that's consistent throughout production or manufacturing is that sense of urgency. And it's like, because I've always kind of considered this, like, if you're a company that produces something and you work in actual production, if you're not functioning, the company doesn't exist. And like, that's not usually said out loud at your like hype up meetings when you're touching base in the morning, but it's kind of that underlying feeling of like, oh, my job is important. Yes, I'm making yogurt, but to be fair, if I don't make quality spec yogurt and use the materials correctly, like, we're not a company. And like, that's a big deal.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. What are the differences between working in the US versus working in the factories in France?
Hmm. I I mean, I would say right off the bat, like, and maybe it's just because I've only been at a very limited number of factories in the US, but in France, I feel like a lot of the operators have a lot of tenure and a lot of experience. And I don't know if it's just because in Europe, they get paid better, or, there's better reasons to stay at a job, or any of that sort of thing. But I've noticed that the operators in France were very, very, very knowledgeable of what they're doing, because of how much experience they have. Multiple, multiple years of working on, in their area and they, how do I say this? Like, I guess the other thing about, France, I mean, so France is, I I'm pretty sure they are the country that eats the most yogurt in the entire world, or
Yeah.
something like that.
what?
So, yeah,
Oh, yeah. You should see the
yeah.
grocery stores in France. Like, it's a whole
It's
ass
insane.
aisle, like, both
Yes,
sides of yogurt.
yes.
Meanwhile, we have like one French, as far as we know, like one French like company, and it's like the three little glasses, and like, that's it.
Yeah. And so I guess where I'm going with that is, since yogurt is such a huge part of the culture over there, like, it's a part of everyone's everyday, like, almost every meal they eat over there is yogurt. So where I was going with that is, because yogurt is so important, I feel like they have a lot of pride in what they do.
Mm.
Because they know, like, hey, maybe not like how it is here, where I was saying, like, oh, it's not the end of the world if you don't make yogurt. Over there, I think it is the end of the world if you don't make yogurt.
You've eliminated like a third of everybody's calories. Like, if a plant shuts down, it's like there's
Yeah,
riots. Well, they're
yeah.
gonna the French are gonna riot anyways. But it's like,
True.
that's so
But
incredible.
But I mean, I think that's how it used to be too, and my
Mhm,
dad always got on my case for not being loyal to companies and jumping around, but, you go to some older companies that everybody's been there for 20, 30 years, I think it used to be that way, and then capitalism and blah, Americans, blah.
Yeah.
mhm.
Well, and to be like, I'm gonna get my soapbox out, but it used to be, if you dedicated 40 years of your life to a company, they would give you a pension and take care of you, and they
Mhm,
Yeah,
wanted to retain people. And now, I've ranted about it before, but you see resumes of people who are at places for like 2, 3 years because there's not a lot of mobility, and the only way that you can make more money or move up is to switch companies. And you can partially say that's because of um the workers, but I think it's largely that the corporations are like, oh, we don't actually have to treat people like people, like, we can eliminate that as a bottom line and make a lot of money. um So I think they give up on us too. So loyalty
Yeah.
be damned.
I
This was like
remember
a two-way agreement, and they stopped agreeing to it. I was like, okay, fine,
No.
bug off. Like since the 80s, like they don't fucking care about me. And you're like, fine, okay, bye.
I know. I mean, I think back to the all hands meetings at previous employers that are like, you should be honored to work here. I can't believe you're asking for more money or this, that, or the other. Like,
I
you
mean, I
should be
doubt that they said it
begging to come to work.
I
Oh,
would
it was
doubt they
very
said it
close to that.
way.
I will remind you.
But I get what you mean, where it's just like, it's like we're moving fast and like we need to spend our money intentionally, and like is like if you need to make a certain amount, then maybe you should work elsewhere. And you're like, oh, okay, like I'm working for something. You're like, well, not for pay.
It was definitely a statement that was, you are lucky to be here. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying too. And that's not everywhere, but it is I think it is a genuine thing where it's like it used to be everyone's going to take care of each other. And I doubt it was like specific or super rosy, and not everyone's taken care of in society, but there was a shift in between like long-term corporate jobs and being like, well, I got to advocate for myself. So I got to be able to be nimble. So
Yeah.
how do we even
Bailey,
rant
I
about
have
this?
to ask about one more thing because I've gained a cousin-in-law. Tell us
Oh my
about
gosh.
what happened in
Ah,
France.
Yeah, I guess I forgot to leave. Yeah, I left something out when I was explaining my whole France adventure thing.
you brought a
So,
French person back?
yes, I actually, during my experience over there, I met this lovely French man, and we actually worked at the same place, not in the same department, so no HR worries, none of that. But so I met this French man, and we actually got married right before I came back to the US, and he was able to come with me. And now both of
Oh,
us work at our lovely little yogurt factory together.
that's fantastic.
It's exciting. And honestly, working in food and bev for a lot of my career, and manufacturing in general, you get a lot of couples that work together,
Mhm.
husbands and wives. It happens a lot. And it's usually just because like the place is a good place to work, or somebody
Mhm.
moved there for the job, and let's see if, my partner can get a job. But it's very common. But you
Yeah.
do have to be careful about the HR
No.
stuff. They never report to you, right?
Yeah. No, we're in completely different departments. It's all good. But it
That's
is
awesome.
funny because some people are like, "Oh, I could never see my spouse every day at work, like, that would be the end of me," and I'm like, "No, actually, I kinda like it. It's nice." We don't see each other, like, all the time, but it's nice to eat lunch together and just connect, and, we are kind of on the other side of the country from either of our families. We're actually kind of in the middle because his family's in France, obviously, and then my family's on the other side of the United States, and so it's kind of just us here. So it's nice to have that at least.
Do you have to limit the time you talk about work when you're at home?
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
It's like you just have an egg timer in the corner who's like cutting you off.
Yes.
It's like, stop it.
Yeah, yeah.
I wanted to ask one more thing before we kind of wrap up. I was just curious, are you in love with food and bev? Do you want to take your engineering skills somewhere else? Have you thought much about that as far as your career progression? I mean, for your employer, yes, you're going to stay there forever. But I mean, we all get curious.
Mhm. No, that's a really good question, and I have been asking myself that a lot lately. So obviously, I mean, I've been at my factory for about 2 years now, and so I'm kind of feeling ready for the next step. And as far as what that is, still up in the air, but something about maybe it's not specific for maybe it doesn't apply to all food and bev companies, but my company is huge and they are everywhere. They have factories all over the world and all over the US. And so that's something that also really enticed me about the opportunity in the first place is that this is a huge company. And during all of my interviews, asked people, okay, what's your favorite part about working for them? And their answer was always they're a big company and there's always opportunities to move around and try new things all without leaving. So that was something that, you know, is good for me. And so if I did want to try something different, like see a completely different side of the business, I feel like I would be able to with them, which is
That's
great.
great.
But yeah, as far as what specifically that is, I have no idea.
Yeah,
We'll
you're
see.
young, things will
Yeah.
evolve. And, one other point is I started in food and bev and I loved it, but it really taught me a lot of skills that translate. So when I went to
Mhm.
go do battery recycling, there's a lot of similarities between
Mhm.
looking at flow meters here and flow meters there, and it's all that engineering basis that can be applied to any industry. That's why I love
Yeah.
manufacturing.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, yeah, when you first think of dairy, you wouldn't necessarily think that it was crazy technical, but it definitely is.
It
For
really
sure.
is. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, thank you very much for coming on to our little podcast.
No,
Yeah,
thanks for having
I
me.
always love hearing where people end up in their engineering journey. So thank you.
Yeah, yeah. The possibilities are endless.
All right. See you next time,
All right.
listeners.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.